Hey, YouTubers, Tazman here, bringing you another episode of Taz Teaches Java. And we are now in the parts of the episode where we're developing actual kind of programs and using all the stuff we've learned and learning new stuff along the ways. So we've been working the last two episodes, and maybe this will be the last episode of this. There's way more we could do to this to make it even better and better and better, but I don't want to dwell way too long on a single type of game because there's so many different types we can actually do. I need a drink real quick. Oh, much better. Love my water. So one thing I was thinking today is right now when we do the game, it's a single player game. So we only have one player and it's always Taz, and we actually have to change the name right here if we wanted to have a different player name, right? So it might be good to have something in here that makes it so that we can have multiple players. So what we're going to want to do if we're going to have multiple players, instead of doing like a P1, P2, P3, because this would make it so in here we'd have to specifically say if P1 then do P1, P2 get P2, so on and so forth. So what we want to do is actually create an array list. I think that's probably how I want to do it. And let's go ahead and just delete all that. And we will start by saying ARRAY, control space to get our list. And there we go. So that'll create us a nice array list here. The array list is going to be of type player. So it's only going to hold players, right? And well, we're going to have to change a lot of stuff in it. I was thinking maybe if we just called this P1, then we wouldn't have to change a lot of stuff. But we still will, because the way it's actually going to get stuff is going to be different. So I think we're just going to do this anyway. So let's go ahead and we'll just call it players. Players. And equals new array, oops, missed the control, array list, and there we go. So now what we're doing is we have an array list that contains players. Now a nice thing about array lists opposed to arrays is they can grow dynamically. You can make them larger and smaller dynamically without having many issues. Where with an array, once you've declared the size, it will not grow any larger. You can make it kind of seem smaller by not assigning things into the last, elements. But in reality, even if you have 5 things in a 10 element array, it's still a 10 element array. So here we go. We now have this. So in order to do an array, let's see, what else are we going to need? We're probably going to want to have let's do, how do I want to do this? Let's do, I don't think I need to do that. Well, let's get a loop, because the first thing we're going to want to do is actually start collecting how many players. So the way we want it to work is we'll have player 1. They play however many rounds they want, or you could say they have a set amount of rounds that, they play 5 times, then player 2 plays 5 times, then player 3, player 4, each of them play 5 times, and you can always check who has the highest score. So let's go ahead and say, just for grins, I want my array to be associated kind of player 1 is number 1, player 2 is number 2, player 3 is number 3. So when I create an array, you always have 0 as your main one. So I'm thinking what we want to do is maybe create a new integer up here, or we could attach it to one of the others, but I don't know. And we'll call it int maybe player count. And this might make more sense as we go, but we're going to set this to 1. Okay. Then let's go ahead and we will, player 0 will always be computer or PC or something like that. Maybe I'll just call it I. That way when it's talking, when it says, no, I guess that one makes sense because like down here it would say, I, you have guess of Mexico. That doesn't make sense. So that would be an expansion later on. But just so element 0 is used, and so that when I add player 1, I want a placeholder there. I'm just going to call it computer. So we're going to do players dot add, and then we're going to say new PLAY player, and then because it expects us to pass it a value, we're going to say maybe CPU or something like that. So this will take up slot 0 in our array list, meaning that when we add player 1, they'll be in slot or element number 1. I think I want it to be that way. So let's say while we always want this to fire off, so we want the while to be up front. And maybe we'll say while query. What kind of queries we got down here? We got our yes, no one. Right, for play again. There's so much stuff we could do to this to even make it better. Even more bester. Let's just say, without having to modify a lot, let's just do this and say while add player, which means once again we have to come up here and add a new one called boolean, boolean add player, play player equals true, like so. And that way we're going to have a thing that's going to loop until we set it to nothing. And then let's see, maybe what we'll do, how do I want to do this? All right, let's start. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask the person, we're going to say s out, and let's say enter in a name for PLAYE player, and now we're going to use up this variable up here, and so we want to say player space, and then we want to do a plus and PLAY, what do I call it, player count, PLAY player count. So like that, and then plus, and then do that, and then that, and then that. Right? Perfect. So that's going to say enter in name for player 1, player 2, and so on and so forth until we are done. So now what we need to do, and then maybe what we'll do in brackets, we'll say enter 0 when finished. Because I think that is going to be a pretty good way to do it. And maybe these should go, how did I do it down here? I don't remember. Yes or no with a colon at the end of that. So yeah. All right. All right. So then what we want to do is take what they're going to do. So do we have a variable for name? I don't think we do. So we need a place. Yeah. Because we don't want to enter the name if it's 0. If we just automatically said, okay, this equals the new name for a new player, then 0 would become a name, and then it would quit, and 0 would be saved in our array. We don't want that. So let's go ahead and say name equals Whoops. String name equals, and it could just be empty. Whoops. There we go. And delete you. Whoop. Not you. And then right here we want to say name equals sc dot next line. So this will put into our name variable a value. Then what we want to do is, instead of checking if there is a name, we want to check if there's not a 0. So if we say name, whoops, we want to say if name dot char at is what we want, ch, because we want only the very beginning of it. If it's a 0, then we want to say no. So if it's not a 0, I mean if it is a 0, we don't want to enter a name. So if it's not a 0, whoops, not a dash. So something like that. Then we would say, so if it's not a 0, then we're going to go ahead and say player players dot add. Oh, not at all. Add. And then we want to say new and players player. Wait, did I call it player? Player. And then probably new player. And then inside, oops, we have too many of those. Go ahead and get rid of you and then that. And then say name, right? And then we want to increment our player count. So player count plus plus. So that will increment player count to 2. If we entered 0, we don't want to increment player count because, you know, if we enter 2, we want to keep this throughout the game, because we can't necessarily, well, I guess we could say array plus 1. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. So now if it is 0, then what we need to do is say else, and we're going to simply change add, whoops, player equals false, F-A-L-S-E. Okay, so this is all we need in order to add a new player to our game. Why is that not tabbed in quite far enough? I don't know, maybe it is. Okay, so I think, whoops, go ahead and do that, there, backspace, right? It was this one I wanted to do. There we go. So that should make it now so that we do that. So now what we need to just come down here and do is modify this stuff so it actually works right. So instead of players, where is it? Player get name, we need to do, well, we need to actually encompass this entire thing into a loop, I believe. Where do you end? Right down here. So this whole thing needs to be in another loop that is going to be for each player, because we want it to do a full person. When they're done, then the next person can go. So let's go ahead and stick another loop here, but this is going to be a for loop because we do know how big it is. So we can say int I equals, and we want it to start with player 1 instead of 0, and we're going to say I is less than player count, right? Is that right? No, player size. We want to do the size. So let me think real quick. Do I need player size? I need to, I'm going to want to have a player size actually. So let's see. So if we say, because do I want that to change? Well, it's 1, 2. Now let's just do, I don't think we need player size. What we can do is just do players dot size. right? I think that should work. If not, we can always go and change it. And then do I plus plus like that. And then do that. And then at the very bottom here, right here, we want to do our close parenthesis. That should do it, right? Player one, you get. We might actually want this to be here, just so we keep track of that, and tab in. I think that's right. Let's just see where we sit. So this is our while right here. Yeah, okay. So now what we're doing is we're going to loop through for however many players we have. So players.size, since we're starting at 1, it's going to say, okay, there are 3 players or whatever, 0, 1, 2, 3. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. And then because we're starting at 1, it's going to do player 1 and then player 2. We might have to fix something there. So the next thing we have to do is, because this was only a single players, we need to do a PLAY, did I spell it? ERS, and then we want .get, because we want to get a specific thing. And then what we're going to do is we need to say, let's see, players get, this will be I, because it'll be player 1 in this case. And then it's going to get player from the array. It's going to look at the element, and it's going to say get the name, which is in there. So let's see, and that should be good. Right now we're actually showing the secret number 2, which we probably wouldn't want to do when we're really doing it. You don't want the people to see it. So once again, we're going to do that same thing right here. So Control C and Control V. Wait, did I do the whole thing? I think I did the whole thing, didn't I? V? Yes. Let's see where else we got it. So here's players get win. So we just want up to here, C and V. And also V here, I believe, right? Takes a little bit of thinking just to make sure. And then set wins player. Wait, what did I just do? Set win players. Control Z. Let's undo that one real quick. So there is a set win players. So this would be, oh, this would be the set one, right? This is where it gets a little bit, can be a little bit confusing. So this is get win, get I. Let me just think for a second. So this is where we're saying higher or lower or you win. So I want to do I want to change how this part works? So let's go ahead and so we want, so this part we definitely want, correct? We want to do get I because we're getting the player I. Then we want, let's hit period here and see what the set win players. Oh, wait. So set win is that guy. I think that's what it was. So set win players. Or no, set win. I'm so confused. I think this is where it's messed up right there, actually. Let's just get rid of this guy real quick and see if that fixes it. There we go. Whew. All right, so we got that. And then here we have to set lose. So it's going to be basically the exact same thing. So Control C there. Whoops. Control V there. And then this set lose needs to be this part. C and V. So that should work. Then here we have get name again. We have get win, get lose. So all we have to do here is grab this guy again. Paste it here. Paste it here. Whoops, Control Z. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it jumps when I do that to another part of the program. And V. All right. And then I think that's it. So let's go ahead and give this a try real quick and just see how many errors we get. But what we've added here is now the ability for you to have multiple players. So you could say, oh, player 1 can play and 2. So let's see. Let's say, okay, enter name for player 1. So we're going to say T4zzZ, right? Oh, we don't want that to be on a next line one either. And then maybe this one, let's do DRBY, Derby Fam, my daughter. And then we want 0 for that. So as you can see, it's doing this right. It's 0, 1, 2, and 3. So if we say 0, it should go in. Now it says, Taz, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. We can see it's 83. And we have 6 guesses remaining. Let's do 50, pretend we were doing that. And it says higher, let's say 83. Nailed it, you win. Play again, let's play twice real quick. And now let's just say, let's get it wrong. Let's say 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Darn, I guess it's not 1. So he wins, we ran out of guesses, the number was 89. Let's say no. Now if this works right, what it's going to do is now it will say Derby Fam. So let's see if that works right. And there you go right there. So Taz, you won 1 time and lost 1 time. So that's good. Derby Fam, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. The number is 61. So let's go ahead and let Derby Fam maybe win 3 times. 61, say yes. Now the number is 76. Say yes. Derby Fam's on fire. So she's going to win 3 times and then lose once. So say yes. And then say 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So now you can see number was 54. So now if we say no, it should give us her stats and exit the game. So there you go. Won 3 times, lost 1 time. So there we go. It actually is working properly. Hopefully what I was doing here makes sense. If it's not, if it doesn't make sense to you, let me know and I'll try and explain how the array list of objects or players works a little better. But in a nutshell, what this is saying is this is our array list. This is a function of the array list. So this is going to say which of the object players do I want to access. This is saying that I want whatever i's value is, which is 1 in this case. Then this is kind of completes itself and says, okay, so this is the players array. So now it has access to all these functions or the methods for whichever player that object was created for. So in this case, it was the Taz. So it's going to say set win, which is one of our player functions right here. So we're just, oh, that's get, set win. So it's expecting a value that's an integer, in which case we have to get the current win that there is. So it's going to go and say Taz already has 3 wins. We're going to increment it by 1, and that's going to change this entire value into a 4, and then it's going to set it to the value for that player. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so anyway, that kind of updates our game once again. I now think it's decent enough that, you know, you could say, yeah, I'd play this. I'd let other people play it because we can actually do it. Now, if you want, you could also make it so that you enter a number, like at the very beginning, you could say, I want to play against the computer, and you could, for example, have the computer object think of a number, or you think of a number and the computer guesses that, and that would be AI. So that's another topic that we'll probably address at some point. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord and my other channels. And also, if you go to my other channel, my Tasman channel, you can always you can always check it out. When I hit 1,000 subs on that channel, I'm going to go ahead and do a great big game giveaway, 56 games, Steam games. So check that channel out. If you like it, sub to it, tell everyone you know about it, and have them sub to it if they like it. And
until next time, we'll be seeing you later. Bye.
Yeah, I wasn't quite there yet. She jumped again. So anyway, thanks for watching. And now, until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.